make sure you get all that.
It's okay.
Okay. We've got minutes for the regular meeting of November 18th. I had some changes, which I sent in, and I believe you made them, so make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I looked at them today, second.
Jack, TJ,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes. Okay, and then we have minutes for the special meeting. Also, and no comments or corrections on those.
Second.
Jack,
Yes.
TJ,
Yes.
and Mike.
Electronic?
Yes. Schedule reports, Frank Kitco, zoning inspector.
Okay, we processed 14 applications for the month of November. Here again, 3 more new houses, bringing the total for the year to 17, which is, as you can see, the last, in the report that you have there, the last 3 months have been 4, 2, 3, so it's been going pretty heavy. And then here again, they're all 3 of them in the northeast quadrant of the township. So it's pretty busy down there between Regal Place, Moreland, and on Stafford Road. That's where they are. And we do have a couple possible Board of Appeals processes coming up. I don't know for sure. 2 people are talking about getting variances, but they haven't actually filed yet, so I don't know. And of course, I know you're probably all aware of the new brewery down there at the corner, and it seems to be doing very well. At least if you drive by there in the evening, the parking lot's full, and it's been that way since they opened. So, and I guess they're working with Cerner across the street as far as food and everything at this time. So it seems to be working pretty good. So, other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Frank? Okay. Emmerich P. Gordon, Township Highway and Superintendent of Lights.
Hey, Auburn Township Road Department report for November 2021. November saw 7 weather events that required 9 rounds of plowing and or salting. The total amount of de-icing materials used was 211 tons, and that would be the 3rd most active November in the last 15 years, according to the data that we have. This brings our new monthly average to 96 tons, and currently we have approximately 1,590 tons of road salt in our dome. Just to remind everybody, this is last year's salt. We still have the new contract in our back pocket, so that's 2,200 tons available once we extinguish this here. Accommodating weather enabled us to do some patching, berm repair, and spot ditching projects on various roads throughout the township. Roads are also being identified for drainage improvements prior to the 2022's paving schedule, which is what we always do typically this time of year. We go out and identify what needs done there. We have a failing Wing Road cross culvert pipe that was patched over as a temporary fix. Due to the nature of the repair and replacement of the structure, a road closure would be necessary, and we found the timing to be in conflict with the Washington Street closure. So we didn't want to have those 2 points closed, but they were using Wing as the cut through. This pipe replacement will be done next spring prior to the chip seal. Capital improvement project we do have slated for this road. The projected 16 to 18 month build process for a new single axle dump truck is cause for concern, and you guys talked with Mr. Ludwig about that, and I spoke with you today. Mike's already begun dialogue with neighboring townships and suppliers as to chassis availability and to outfitters as with the claims of material shortages. The need to strategize and prepare is evident. He'll be collecting all the pertinent data as to when to pull the trigger on the funding for these. He wants to be put on the agenda for the next meeting. So he'll have everything together. He's working, crunching numbers a day and calling everybody up. So he should have the package ready for the next meeting. I know that we had some discussions, you and I did, about replacing 16 with a larger truck. I do concur. I do think that's a great idea for our township roads, just to have those larger single axles out there. I think he had a couple of ideas he wants to run past you. Our generator, we had a service call on it, and we were in a fail to start state. We had a repair done a month or so ago, and it seemed to fix the issue. Last week, once again, we had to fail to start. We did have Cummins come in. The guy did look at it, and let's not call it bad news, but he feels that the regulator on the generator itself is failing, and that's about $1,000 for parts alone. So we'd probably be looking at 1,000 labor, 1,000 parts. We do have the ability to do manual override. So even though the generator is not firing on its own, we're able to go out there and start it.
But you have to be there.
You have to be there, correct. But it's an easy thing, you open the door and there's a switch in there, so you do the manual override. So what I need to do for you guys is I'll put in a requisition. I'm waiting on the parts and the labor estimates for this, and then I'll present that to the board and have them come back in. As of right now, it runs great. The engine is running fantastic. It's just this, the ability to start within a 15-second window once it's called for, and that's what's not happening.
So there must be a second regulator, not to get too technical. There must be.
Right, and that's what he was talking about, so. So we'll get that estimate and I'll present it to you guys.
We need that generator for the fire system.
Yeah, we gotta keep it running.
Yeah.
Right. And then also I did put in front of you Weaver Tree. We talked about them. We did do a joint project on one of our roads with Manaway Township. And I was privy to what they were paying for the rest of the roads. It looked very affordable. I did have them come out, we met with them. I have the quote in front of you there. If you look at the list of roads, it's an extensive list of roads, as well as a tree that I had secured a quote from another tree company that was at that time the lowest. He's beaten them by $300 on the removal of that tree. So I think we're going to go with them, albeit that you guys have that signed and ready for him. He's ready to go whenever we get that back to him. He may run past the first of the year, but he should be able to take it out within a month.
He has all of his papers in.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Nance, I did give you all the liability forms. Yeah.
Do you have one? Where are the minutes? I wonder if Fred took them.
Yeah. With the
I'll
copy.
find them.
So that once again, what we'll do is we'll do these sections of roadway, and then spring, summer, we'll go ahead and target other roads.
I mean, this is a pretty impressive list you got here.
It is, and it's a fairly good price at $11,300. He is clearing to 18 to 20 feet above the road surface. He goes actually to the back side of the road ditch as well.
Right.
So anything encroaching on the road, overhangers or sideways, they'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Anybody have an issue with this, or?
That's the
No,
original.
I'm all in favor of that. There's a lot of work there.
You betcha.
PJ, the last time that the township did that was back in, 2002 or 3. We went around in the back of our single axle dump with the pole saw and, standing on the cab protector and doing it that way. I think it was then, because it was myself, Mr. Hewis, Mr. Schindler, and David.
Is that right?
Yes, that's the last time it was done.
I'm gonna make a motion that we execute this contract with Weaver Tree.
Yeah, I'll second that.
John,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got for you.
That's it?
You want more? I got
I'm on the
facts and
edge of my
figures.
seat. I think I'm holding something back. Okay, thank you, Emery.
You're welcome.
Okay, trustee reports, Mr. Everly.
The only thing I had is we're still in a waiting mode to see what direction the government's gonna go with this money for infrastructure, of which broadband is specifically called out. The question being, will we meet the criteria for being rural enough? And the other that will, and I kinda had an argument, not an argument, but a solid discussion, but, well, maybe this is meant for people that don't have any internet. And I said, well, practically in some areas of our township, we don't have any internet. And in some areas, the internet is so unreliable, it might as well not be there. That it's being maintained out of a state away. And so anyway, it's sort of a wait and see to see what this language is. In any case, it would be good for the board to partner with the county. It sounds like that would be a positive step.
Okay, now do we have to partner with someone else first to partner with the county?
Yeah, well,
Because I mean, that was one of the county
it's hard to go to
guidelines.
the county and partner to do something that doesn't exist yet. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But I think that we need to maybe be prepared to do that as
Well,
soon as, if and when if the language on these funds looks like we can qualify, then we need to go
well,
quick.
we can start out with communicating with the county and
Yeah.
Now,
let
would
them know
that,
what we're thinking about, and I'm sure we're not the first person to talk to them about it.
No.
so.
would that be through economic development?
Yes.
Okay. So, really, any kind of like memo of understanding would start it.
I would think so,
Yeah.
PJ. I kind of think though with Mike, there is no, you have to have something that you're understanding.
Yeah, well-
This is still, it's just frustrating because it's,
Well, it's not very concrete because,
right, there's not anything that you
You
can
know.
count on.
yeah, they want us to partner with them, but they're not really, don't really know what they want from us and what they're willing to add to it, so.
The problem is they're talking some big numbers.
Yeah.
They're talking some way bigger than we're prepared to. And I kind of told them, I says, you know, if that's gonna be the numbers, you know, they're talking millions. We don't have, no, it's possible that we could generate millions. And one idea, of course, would be to put a levy on, $500,000 or $250,000 levy, and make it a 5-year, something like that, and over 5 years, you could generate a significant amount of money. And so, you know, I did throw that up. I said, don't think that, you know, I understand this is expensive. This isn't any $100,000 project to wire the township. And you know, one of our problems is all of our new subdivisions have underground wiring.
Yeah, that's a whole different
That's a whole, that's
cost area.
That's like you have no wiring in their minds. And so while it's, I don't know, it just seems like you
Yeah, it's
can't
one thing
win
taking a
till
big
lose.
spool of fiber optic and running it from pole to pole, we just gotta go underground in the individual
Well,
houses.
people aren't gonna want that in their neighborhoods.
No, not after having.
And I don't blame them, I wouldn't want it either. But it's an obstacle, I guess it's just another thing where the cost goes up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not insurmountable, it's just expensive.
No, it's not, and so if we could get even a combination of a chunk of these federal monies, and then if they say, well, hey, you know, you need to have some kind of contribution, depending on what that number would be, we do have some options. I think I said this before, but let's not be, the internet's not going away. And the speeds are not gonna get less, they're gonna increase. We need to be able to jump into this and have the room for 2030.
Well,
10 years ago, I would have been adamantly opposed to that, but with the level of service from our big provider here, and the lack of, well, there's been some improvements, but they've been minimal, in isolated areas. And you combine that with concerns and complaints from residents, it's the number one thing I hear about.
The programs and the data that my son, Zach, sends at Protective Blast, compared to what we did 3 years ago, mind-boggling. I don't know if you experienced that, Mike, but, I mean, he's doing a lot of, data and whatnot, and they had to go in and they had to plunk some money down, and, we're not that far from the connections. We're just like 3 buildings, and I think it cost them $25,000-$30,000 to hook up.
Well, sounds like as our unpaid consultant, you have your work cut out for you.
Well, I think I'm gonna need some money for some aspirin, because it's a bit on the frustrating side. But we're not giving up. We're gonna follow this through one way or another. Auburn cannot be without proper internet connections to every address in the township. I mean, that's a fact. Do we agree to that point, I think?
I think everybody agrees on that one.
Yeah.
And this isn't like, well, remember, like, do you want cable or do you want...
Yeah, this is 20 years ago when,
That's right.
the internet was somewhat of a novelty. It's become a
It's not a novelty.
mainstay of
Right.
business.
Right. So, and that's where, like, in these neighborhoods where we have underground wiring, we're gonna have to have underground wiring.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it's in the county regs for all the new subdivisions, underground wiring. So that's where we are in that little project. And then the other thing I wanted to throw in is, I guess, is my 2 cents for the truck. I've thought a lot about this, and we don't have a spare truck, big truck. We're running the Dickens out of that. What do you call the little truck?
Low Pro. It's a Low Pro.
And the nice thing about the Low Pro is the bed is probably 18 inches
Lower than the.
lower than the big truck.
We're able to work off the tail.
So now, if you ever have to shovel stuff off of something, it's a lot harder off that big truck. I get all of that, but when it comes to hauling stuff, we've never had a spare truck. And in the wintertime, when one goes down, we're without a truck. And I don't know that it's a crisis, but the other thing is, as in our 3 guys' tenure here, there was a time when we did hard-packed roads, right, BJ? Perfectly fine. If you did a hard-packed road today, we'd be in prison. No one's going to stand for it, and it just is this the level of service that these guys deliver.
Would that 550 that we're talking about fill that?
That's what Mike was gonna bring to the table.
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, we tried that once before with that 450.
Is it just because the 450 is a horrible? If you go in and you look up that 450, you could find 1,000 guys that want to blow it up with dynamite. The 450.
15 years ago, that was was that 15 years ago we did that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was junk. It was junk.
It was.
We had that, we carried that one truck for spare, 2-3 years ago for a while, but boy, when you're getting $38,000 for a used truck,
No, you
it's
got to get rid of it.
pretty hard to say, no, we want to keep it for a spare.
But I'm just throwing in my hat that I think we need to look at having another, to replace that little truck with a big truck. We have trailers, and we have some 1 ton. it might be prudent to look at another 1 ton, something like, and I'm not opposed to that 550, but if I had to put my list of preference, I'd go with the big truck first and then the little truck second. Just because we've actually been down and we ran for quite a while with 3 trucks.
We ran the biggest storm last year with 3 trucks.
That early one, December 1st?
Yes, and it was a challenge.
Yeah, we're putting these guys in a precarious scenario, that's all I'm saying.
Well, Emmerich, make the recommendation of what you think would be the most logical course. Guys are working for you, you've got to deal with things, so let us know what you feel is the best way to go.
Right, I spoke with the guys today extensively about this, and we did huddle up. Like I said, Mike's gonna come here in 2 weeks and bring everything. I want them to offer up their ideas as well as not just mine. And when they come back to me, and then, we can give a definitive answer then, as long as you guys go along with it. John's truck does have the most mileage on it out of our entire fleet. It is the one experiencing the most breakdowns. If you see time and again, truck 16
Put thousands
Come-
and thousands.
come across come across the board's desk there. So as far as replacing that, I'm all for that. I know that the 550 Newberry's got, I think, the 550 or 200 purchased up there. The guys actually went up there and looked, and we're checking it out. So they did go with gas. They said it's a dog. It doesn't pull. So you'd have to go with the diesel motor in there.
Are they running a big plow on that?
They're running a 10-foot.
I
Which is what we're running now, though. But to be honest with you, on these roads out here, you need your 11-foot highway punch plow. Once you cock that, you're just getting your 10-foot anyways on your surface, and you just want to do 2 passes in and out. So I wouldn't want to go and put a 10-foot plow back on the road.
Can
Because I
that
know-
little truck handle a big plow?
That's why we're talking to replace it with a bigger truck. And I do agree with dedicating that bigger truck to the roads and our facilities. And the thing is, you start counting facilities that we're plowing now. We have administration, town hall, fire department, service garage, Adam Hall, and a park. So we have a truck dedicated just for facilities now. I mean, it takes a long time when you have a considerable amount of snow to push open the parking lot. And rule 1 is fire department first and foremost when we come in. So,
Did you hear that back there?
I did, we appreciate that.
yeah. So the smaller low pro and
Emma,
everything.
write that down for him to take back
I
there.
can't. I think it's evident, though, you guys are well aware. But the low pro would serve a purpose here, in the facilities, but I don't think out on the road, though. And let's see what Mike brings to the table and
Yeah,
what their ideas
I'm
are.
just throwing my hat in the ring, that's all. Emmerich, let's discuss the berming,
Mhm.
because things are kind of taking a little bit of a twists, I guess.
Okay, the burning units right now, there's a substantial increase in price, actually. We're going from $5,000 to over $7,038, I think the latest quote was, and that's a rigid unit on the back of the truck. The other one they have where it swings, where you're lifting up, that's a little more expensive. Coupled with that $7,038, there's a 15% materials surcharge on top of that as well. Snow plows we're seeing now that we're outfitting our larger trucks with, across the board, $4,000 more per plow, every plow. Our salt spreaders just went from $6,000 to $9,000 on our spreaders, so these are massive increases. Now, the challenge for us is, even though we purchase this, it's a 12 to 16 week supposed wait before delivery. They don't have shelved units anymore. They build them as you come. And I want to let you guys know, when we bought our chipper down here, it was the last one fully assembled, and they ran out of parts, so the people after us didn't get their chippers. And I think timing, as you and I had spoke, if it is, and we do secure that now, and we run into 16 or 18 weeks, we're in the spring, summers when we would utilize that piece anyways. I don't want to walk away from it. When you have these long runs, and we're all over the township, we used to shovel it in by hand. You know, but when you have a 200-foot run of missing berm, you know, it's a long day they're shoveling, and this conveyor belt bermer. And I think we borrowed Dewberry's at one time. And you just lay that material right in there and move along.
Jen Zog was talking about a standalone berming machine. What are the pros and cons of that?
Todd Lamb has a standalone burning machine. It's self-propelled. It's another bigger unit you can use with asphalt or aggregate or anything like that. We don't need anything that big. First of all, we're not doing construction with this. We're doing maintenance and repair. Something I could put on the back of the truck and just do small areas as we encounter them. We're not putting in a roadway, and which is what Todd does over in these other communities. He does long stretches of berm. We're not doing that type of work, and I don't think for us, with the amount of room that it would take up in our garage, as well as the price of a piece like that, we wouldn't employ it as often as we should as per price. So I think you don't want to spend $25,000 to $30,000 versus $7,000 for just some maintenance here and there that we intersperse between our other duties. So,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
I just wanted to ask, because the issue came up, brought before us, so.
And also,
Thank you for the
since we're getting
clarification.
it custom, they'll make the attachment to fit the truck.
Correct, because this is a Concord unit which uses pockets, but we have Swenson and Byers snow dogs on ours, which uses a pin and sleeve type of adjustment, and they said they could customize whatever our trucks have, and it's not a big deal, so.
Okay, so the price is up like 30 to 50%.
Yeah.
What's availability?
As soon as you put your order in, 12 to 16 weeks out.
This is the same burning machine we were talking about a couple weeks ago? that
Yes,
just
sir.
went up this much?
At least it's not on a boat out in Los Angeles Harbor.
Well, that may very well, the steel may be out there.
That's what I was gonna say.
Well, I don't know, I thought we should bring this up. Burning is important, that it really saves those, keeps those, the edge of your road from breaking off.
Right, there's a lot of that sloughing off happening where we don't have the burns.
I think we did a motion here for up to 5,500, does that sound right?
Yeah,
Is that what we did?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's gotta be
I
fixed.
think we're gonna have to revisit that, PJ.
Well, can you get us narrowed in on a price?
Yes, sir, I can.
Before
I'm
it
in
goes up
contact with
again.
them, and I could go ahead
I think we
and,
should just go ahead, get the price, get it in here, and get,
right. What I
motion it
would,
in and get it ordered.
Mike, what I would need to do is take the truck there, he sees what I have, my setup on the back, and then he can do the customization and give me a more of a definitive answer as to what it's gonna cost us, so.
Okay, I just have lots of good news. And then the last thing is we have the invoice here from Eclipse. And
Yes.
they have some materials, you know, we put a stop on that project. There's some culverts and I think a catch basin. Nick's physically been in the yard, it's there,
It's in their yard.
in their yard, right. It was purchased, it's in their yard. We agreed to go ahead and have them invoice us for that material. It's been there for about, 3 months. And I think they're not gonna use it until spring, but we agreed that, I think it's fair, don't you, Tim, Rick?
Well, it comes off what we're gonna spend next
Yeah,
year,
you're
so
exactly right, yeah.
interesting that they've had them for 3 months, so they got them about 2 weeks for that road was to be completed. That's all.
I think it was a clerical error, because we agreed to this actually probably 2 months ago. And Nick and I did, we said, okay, go ahead, and Nick said, because I asked Nick in person, did you go see this stuff? And he said, yeah.
Okay.
So therefore, let's, if you guys wanna take action on that invoice from,
Yeah, it's part of the new business, so just go ahead and make
Yeah.
a motion and,
you wanna just do that, I'm gonna make a motion that we go ahead and I think I got it here, pay Eclipse,
just It's right in the,
Yeah, I saw that
New
letter.
business,
Came from the there's from the,
Here it is. This is on the recommendation of the county engineer for reconstruction of section F of Stafford Road. It'd be the invoice number 2, and it's in the amount of $12,664.20.
is that a motion?
Yes,
Second.
Jack,
yes.
Mike,
yes,
and PJ.
Yes.
And these are township funds, these are not OPWC funds. I also, and I think we copied Mike and PJ, we got a letter from, a copy of a letter from Nick to OWPC to ask for an extension on the project, and so that's been taken care of. And so basically, what needs to be done is they'll just go in there, do the road reconstruction, and that's it. Nothing, no utilities, we don't need to deal with any of that anymore.
yes, there shouldn't be anything holding it up.
No, it should be
Except for
pretty
weather.
much, yeah, straightforward, right?
Okay. PJ,
Not much to report, other than, been in contact always with, Western Reserve Conservancy over the parking lot deal up there at the park. And they did a walkthrough up there. They didn't think a trustee would be necessary since we've sent them all the drawings and schematics, what we're doing. So I know they did a walkthrough. I think Pete did it. So it's moving along. And understood that we have some construction season things we gotta deal with there. So he's just keeping me posted. That's all.
okay. Fred. Okay, I'll assume Fred doesn't have anything because he's not here. Okay, one thing I wanted to go over is, and the fire department is here. Did you guys have anything you wanted to bring up specifically? I want to go over the contract changes tonight. Is there anything else you wanted to?
No, I do have a copy of a proposed budget, yet to be finalized, that I can hand out to you guys,
Oh, okay,
just to go in conjunction with that.
all right. Just like make sure you're doing what you're gonna do in case you get called out on this here.
Thanks.
Could I get one for Fred?
Can I
Do
give
you
it
have
to you
an
after?
extra one? Absolutely.
Okay, we have the contract coming up with the fire department for services for 2022. We had some, I sent the contract up to the prosecutor's office. She had one change. We had a couple of additional changes we wouldn't put in there. Go over the changes now. You should all have copies of the thing. You can go over the rest of the contract at your leisure. Okay, from last year, we're actually having, I don't even know what the figure is, $1,080, $555, $1,080,555. The payments will be $343,518, roughly in 3 equal payments. One small change, which this may pick another conversation while you guys are here, we'll bring that up. Item 14, it was written, the firehouse building shall be used exclusively for daily operations. They added to that the line, and community events hosted or sponsored by the Auburn Volunteer Fire Department. And that's followed by then Auburn trustees will be used for the facilities during emergencies. So the key change was for community events, since we do have community events there. It was never addressed in it. Mario and Keith brought it up, thought it was a good addition, so we put that in there.
Would we have community events that aren't sponsored by the fire department?
Yeah, at the fire department, no. Any community events we have at the fire department are by the fire department.
So, for example, the pancake breakfast,
Right,
that would eliminate that.
yeah, which, no, see, that,
Yeah, hosted is the word in there too, so I suppose not necessarily.
Is that your intent?
No, what originally brought this up is we have the Boy Scouts come out and they will use our training room on occasion. So they happen to be there the one day and we realized that our contract doesn't necessarily allow for us to sponsor another event. So no, this would include pancake breakfast, clam bake, anything like that. Would be any event that we're sponsoring, just including that verbiage in there to cover that.
What does that mean, though, that you're sponsoring? I'm
The,
just,
the event, so we previously didn't have the verbiage in there.
yes, I
that-
know, yeah.
no, but his question is, what does the word sponsoring mean in this context?
Right.
When you say you're sponsoring an event,
Mhm.
is it an event that is, you know, again, the word is, you know, you're letting people use the facility.
Mhm.
You're not necessarily the sponsor of the event, you're simply allowing,
Yeah, I guess hosting would probably be
Yeah,
it.
hosted or sponsored is pretty broad, actually,
Mhm.
so it could be anything.
Right.
okay, so let's look at just to clarify that one word, because you know where we're coming from.
Right.
Understood.
Well, you know, I think this is the perfect opportunity to discuss that, though.
Well, yeah, I
Pancake
mean,
breakfast,
Yeah, we just had a that's why I saw that as a perfect segue. Let me finish the contract
Oh, I'm
before
sorry, I'm sorry.
before we go into that.
okay.
Stick around, guys. One of the comments from the prosecutor's office is that they wanted a statement in there regarding insurance. And that is number 5 in the contract. I'll read it. It says the corporation shall maintain insurance coverage for general liability, injuries to persons and property, and errors and omissions in an amount not less than $1 million per occurrence. The township shall be named an additional insured on said coverage. Corporation shall provide the trustees with a certificate of proof of insurance in accordance with the terms herein. Corporation shall save the township harmless from any claims of liability of injury to persons or property resulting from the acts or omissions to the corporation, its officers, employees, or volunteers.
I think basically we have that, don't we?
We had a portion of that, okay? We added to that paragraph to include the language as requested by the prosecutor's office and with the certification that we have that, in naming you guys as additional insured, because that had never been done in the past.
I know that,
I think it was assumed, but again, it's not in the document, so we fixed
So,
it.
just clarifying for the prosecutor,
I mean, we own the building,
yes, we do.
so it would be for any liability issues that we need to be named as I think it's an
buildings-
important clause.
The building is a different issue,
Yes,
because the building is covered by our,
I understand.
Insurance.
I think that's an important clause for us, though.
Yes, it is.
Additional.
that's why we put it in.
That's right. Good job.
Thanks. Okay, number 6, also a change here. It's kind of a non-change change. It was strictly a change in verbiage to mimic the Ohio Revised Code. And I'll read that. Pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code 505-38B, the Board of Township Trustees shall appoint a fire prevention officer who shall exercise all the duties of fire chief except those involving the maintenance and operation of the fire apparatus. Said prevention officer will investigate fires within Auburn Township and submit the required forms to the fire marshal as required by Ohio Revised Code 373724. So that is what we've been doing. They are changing their bylaws to that exact verbiage. And we're also going to change the verbiage in the organizational meeting, just so everything matches Ohio Revised Code. No difference in intent, but it's just a
I think
clarification.
that's a good idea,
We've been
Okay?
operating that way for 5, 6, 7 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a while, but like I said, it's just a little clerical cleanup, okay? And those were the only changes. Like I said, you guys got copies of them. Feel free to go through it. If there's anything else jumps out at you, let us know. What we'd like to do is try to get any information, if there is anything you need changed. You know, let them know, so we want to get the sign on the meeting on the 16th. So we have it done before the end of the year. Okay? And we're going to take that as the segue into an issue that rose earlier this week. We got an email from the Scouts asking to use Adam Hall for the pancake breakfast. That's the same look I had.
Okay.
Okay. I talked to Chief Phillips today, and he said, well, you know, they can do it, but they should still do it at the fire department. The fact that we have cooking facilities and things like that, you know, they're obviously ready to take on the whole thing themselves. So I would, you know, assume that's gonna mean they're gonna pick up all the materials, they can do the setup, you know. So basically, it's just a difference of whether we're gonna give them let them use the fire department as a forum or Adam Hall. John said, you know, it's always been a fire department event, it should remain a fire department event. Even if, you know, if it is for the Scouts doing it, I concur with that. Now, any naysayers on that?
Well, the only naysayers is that it's, and maybe this is just gossip, but it's been conveyed to me that there's firemen that don't want anything to do with that.
Well, good, and the firemen don't wanna have anything to do with that,
Yeah.
don't have to have anything to do with
Well,
that.
I don't know if they're the ones that are in, I don't know if they're just guys walking on the street or they're ones that have any authority. I don't know that, Mike.
Well, you know, I
I
don't.
think it's been a phenomenal event, and I'm not prepared to have the township.
Well, I know a
lose it.
couple of guys who have authority. One is Chief Phillips,
Right.
and he kinda said we should have it at the fire department. Now, I've got the president of the fire
That's
department.
why I'm
What say
wanting
you?
to do this. What say you?
I would say I mean this is the first I'm hearing of that. I know we've I think the last 2 years now we didn't do pancake breakfast just because of everything going on with COVID. But I would say we're more than happy to continue to host that. We've had obviously like Mr. Everly said some internal people that aren't
Are you gonna host it or sponsor it?
host, I believe. But yeah, I think we would still. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't want to continue to do that from my perspective at all. It's always been a
Mr.
great event.
Secretary, your opinion?
Yeah, I concur with that also. Like I say, the Boy Scouts came in and helped us out, because we just didn't have the amount of personnel who were willing to volunteer their time, to make these events happen. And Boy Scouts came in and kind of picked it up and ran with it at that point, so I think it was a win-win.
I mean, they can do all the setup, they're gonna do
Yeah.
all the cooking, they collect the money, they do everything.
Yeah, so, and
The only
again,
involvement you guys would have would
I'll
be
mirror Mario here, this is
Moving-
that's why you
moving
got
the
the eyebrow,
equipment.
because it's like, yeah, this is the first time I've been hearing of that also, so.
So they make some money, the Scouts make some money out
Mhm.
of this.
Yeah.
And I just can't picture a fire department or pancake breakfast without the little plastic hats and a bunch of 3-year-olds climbing around looking at fire trucks. It's tradition.
It's probably great PR for the fire
It's-
department.
Yeah,
Excellent PR.
Absolutely.
In my mind, this has always been an event, and I'm going back 30 years ago. This has been the time where the fire department can show the citizens, you can interact firsthand with them, you can let them see what they're what equipment you have, you can meet the, if there are any people there, you could always meet people. And I thought it was a phenomenal public relations event, and I believe Auburn benefited greatly from this. And I just been told, and my days as the liaison have been long over. But I've been told by some people that we don't want anything to do with this. We're firemen. We don't make pancakes. And I thought, well, you don't get it. Where do you think the money comes from to pay you to be a fireman? It comes from the citizens, and if they don't have support in your levy, you don't have any money. It's a tremendous public relations event, and
So like I said, anybody wants to show up there and show their face and, be available, that's fine. But right now, as it sits, yes, use the fire department facility, but it will be run totally by the Boy Scouts. So I don't think anybody has a problem with that.
I know.
Okay, I'm gonna make that motion,
I'll
just to
second
make sure
it.
we're clear.
Jack,
Yes,
PJ,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
I assume we're doing one, or they're gonna do 1 week.
2 weeks they want
Or
to
are they gonna do 2 weeks now?
They're looking at 2 weeks.
The last week in February and the first Sunday in
So
March.
2 Sundays, okay. Yeah, the other thing is for all these people that have voted to fund that fire department to the level it is, that's really their only opportunity to see the inside of that building.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a great PR event for us.
unless you get
guys
like
said.
stuck in the squad, they forget about you and you wake up and you go, oh, where the hell am I?" Okay, good, I appreciate that too.
Okay, well, thank you, guys. Sorry to throw you under the bus, you just have to be at the right place at the right time.
Seems to happen.
All right. Okay, we have one last thing. You guys handled 2 of the 3 on the new business. We have franchise fees for Charter Communications for $5,349.80. Anybody have any idea what they'd like to do with that?
I'm gonna go I make a motion, we put it in the land improvement fund.
I'll
Do I
second
get a
it.
second?
Yep.
Jack,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes. Public comment. Come on, you guys, you've been paying attention here. Your teacher's gonna ask you what you asked. Come up with something. Okay, fine.
I got a couple
Mike,
things to
these are the procrastinators, they're gonna have their questions tomorrow.
I got a couple things to say tonight. As many of you are aware, John's finishing this term. Maybe another one in the future, who knows? Hasn't been written yet.
Kinda doubt it, but.
I gotta say, it's been an honor to work with you for 20-plus years now. I think, Mike, you could probably concur with that for 16 years. It's been a pretty consistent board. And,
You can be a pain in the butt periodically, but overall, it's been a good experience.
well, it's, I've watched this guy work, and there's a couple things that have happened over the years, and particularly back in the 90s. When John first ran, freeway was about to open. 25 miles of gravel road? 34, and they showed it. I think there was a feeling amongst the board at the time, the board of trustees, mistaken or not, hindsight always seems to correct that, but we're about to see this boom of development here, and if we don't improve our roads, that development's gonna bypass us and move on. Mistaken in hindsight, but a theory, and John kind of transformed that, flipped that on its head, in a timely fashion too, because we could have been in a giant hole. That property was gonna sell and it was gonna develop, and we would have had, it was timely to move into 21st century road maintenance and thinking.
Well, at least to the mid-20th century, kind of catch up.
We caught up a bit. Various other things too. Kind of had some vision here for the road garage. Of course, Adam Hall came into play during this stretch, and then probably most recently, and the one we've been focusing on quite a bit now, for the last 6-8 years, is the park. Right now, we've got a state-of-the-art field up there. Youth football's been there for a while. We're doing lacrosse up there. There's a lot of athletics going on in that park, and to see that place when we were brush hogging it, and there was a cornfield up there 8-10 years ago, it's quite a transformation there too. And I appreciate that. That's John's led the way on a lot of this stuff.
Thank you.
That being said, Emmerich, would you go on that tablet back there, please? Excuse me, guys. I guess you can't.
Oh my lord, I didn't look back. There's a lot of you.
Yeah, so-
PJ, this here?
It's in the back behind the chairs, yeah.
This one here? Excuse me guys, I'm sorry.
So proud.
We don't do much, other than, I guess we named,
Hey, who doesn't love a cheese tree, right?
we named some volleyball courts after Mr. Don May, who was a long time fella that did our Memorial Day service, 50-some years, kept a diary, long time contributed to the township as a volunteer. But this is, I think, is an occasion where, as I mentioned, I'm sure I've forgotten a few things we've been involved in over the years as well. But I think some honorarium is appropriate at this point. So what we're going to do, and this is a scale model, but this will probably mount on the Parker building to be followed by a bigger sign in the appropriate place after I talk to KCE. I'd make a motion for the athletic field of the park to be named John Everly Field from here on.
I will second that motion.
Jack?
I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
I know. PJ?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Well, I can only say thank you very much.
It's been fun working with you.
And I can't take all the credit for those fields up there, because it's kind of odd, but there's a guy sitting in this room, and he had a whole lot to do with that, helping and getting things done. And as I got to know him, I really enjoyed it. And the thing I used to tell people, he's a doer. And I can remember when I said, David, we need like 300 bales of straw for this grass. He said, no problem, be here tomorrow morning. And I said, well, who's going to get this off the truck? And he goes, football team. So I didn't do that by myself, but I will tell you this, it's been a labor of love, and I've enjoyed, from the night I called Gene McCune, and I said, Gene, I got a great idea. The Cathan Farm's for sale, let's go buy it, through the Land Conservancy, of which I was a trustee at the time. And so that was our money place where we could get the money to buy it. They would buy it and then sell it to us. And Mr. Cathan could get a very nice tax credit and actually get more cash in his pocket than if he sold it to a third party, a stranger. And he said, yeah, fine, we'll do that, except for I just sold it to a guy. And now I can tell the little secret that the driveway to the park is 6 inches too narrow at the west end. And the county engineer called me up and he says, hey John, can we, you have any problem with this road being 6 inches too narrow for about 100 feet? And I told him, no way. We can't have that. Absolutely not. We'll never go along with that. Gene and I will never accept that. And he was really puzzled. And then the developer went away, and then we called them up and said, hey, we need to do engineering for this road up here. It's not a road, it's a driveway now. And that was the early beginnings of the park. And it's come a long way since then. And I really appreciate this. And a lot of help to get it done. The road department, Emmerich and I were driving around up there and determining where, did this feel, you know, can we plant grass up here and play up here? And we said, yeah, sure, no problem. And I think we have never, we just put money, for those of you who are in the audience, but we've never spent any tax money on the park, not a dime. It was at a period of time inheritance tax that we got from people who died, and we got part of their estate. And it just so happens a gentleman passed away, not this Parker, but another, the more important Parker, and we got a rather nice contribution, and hence we have the Parker building. But all of the franchise fees we've collected for how long, you guys? 30 years?
Before I was here, you were putting them in there.
The Adventist Star Cable.
In there, and we've been saving that money and trying to be very prudent with it, but we don't have a park board. If you're reading the things about people fighting over their park boards, we don't have that. And the trustees have just maintained this park and added on we haven't added on, there's 67 acres there. So.
Try to do everything on a budget, the original playground equipment,
It's free.
we talked to the school system, they allowed, they had all the equipment that was up at Gardner, and we went and looked at, we had somebody take a look at to see what was salvageable, what was usable, so half the stuff you couldn't even use, but some of it was good, and we pulled that over, and we got additional
We got a grant for
grant
more
money for the other
playground.
half of the playground, so.
Got a grant for the pavilion.
I
Yeah.
think that pavilion's one of the nicest you'll find in the county, and anyway, it's
It's
been a
well
lot of
used.
fun, and I really appreciate this, I can't tell you how much. And yes, I'm gonna miss this, but it's
I
been,
think you will,
it's
yeah.
been I've been 24 years over 30. I was a trustee for 4 years, I wasn't for 6, and then I've been a trustee for 24 more. And it's been my hobby. And so I'm
You've
kind
done
of
some damn good things here.
without a
Yeah,
hobby.
yeah.
So thank you guys, I really appreciate it.
Okay. Now, any other comments? All right, on that note, we'll be going to executive session for purpose of 2022 zoning commission board and KC representative interviews pursuant to RC 121.22G. So, those invited can stay. Everybody else have a nice night.